Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be, to the 33rd episode of The Divine Mess. And we are on a new moon today, and it's the 11th of January. So it's all new, bright, shiny things for us today. So we thought we would have a chat about authenticity today and surrounding yourself with people who have faith and believe in you. And when do you tell those people who like to be snide and deliver the regular shit sandwich, the off you go, and my language, off you fuck, because I can't be bothered with stuff like that in 2024. Moving towards my 50th year, I have decided that I do not have time for people who cannot be truthful to you and who cannot be truthful to themselves. So on that introduction, welcome to The Divine Mess, everybody. My name's Tina Marie and I'm an intuitive strategist, and I am the owner of Dharmas & Co. And we love talking all things mindset, energetics and business. And I am joined by my very, very dear friend, Mr. Curdy David Perriman, who is the owner of the Heroes Mystic, but I will handball across the screen to him and let him introduce himself as he does every episode. But it's a pleasure to have you in my lounge room this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for this beautiful introduction on our 33rd episode. And we were talking about like angel numbers before that. So that's a great sign for this episode, what's coming up and how we are going to show up in this episode. I'm looking forward to that conversation. So by the way, for people who are joining us for the first time, maybe in 2024 or maybe in 2025, whenever you're listening to us, welcome to this Divine Mess podcast where we discuss and have fun conversation about everyday life stuff, and from different perspective, especially from the divine masculine and divine feminine perspective. And if you're hearing me for the first time, I'm Kirtideva Perman, also known as Deva. I'm the owner of the Heroes Mystic, where we help you to fight your inner demons and find your inner hero to shine within you, to help to shine the light on the world, which I feel that we need all the time, like to remind people that to tap into their light. Even us, like as coaches, we constantly need reminders. And sometimes our clients or our bestie will do that. Just remind us. Or we'll just throw a shit sandwich, or not a Reuben sandwich to you, but a shit sandwich to you. And that's an inside joke. If you don't understand it, please listen to a few episodes before that and catch up on our inside jokes. And well, thank you for the first episode that we are recording between the two of us.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing my appreciation and gratitude for the last episode with my parents, because that was a unique one and a different experience for me, especially. And
we kind of took a little bit of a back seat, right?
yes, and which is good to see. But I feel like whatever the stories they shared, like I said last time, is I could hear it. Like there was no trigger, there was no oh no, please. Obviously, my reaction would show that oh no, please don't. But that's your like automatic response. But I never felt like triggered by it, and for me it was a reminder of how much inner work I done, and I was like really appreciative of how much inner work my parents did as well, to get to that point where they could share their stories with authenticity, genuineness, like there was no hidden part or, like hidden stories in what they shared. What you heard was their true self, especially my mom will be the first one to tell you that. And she was so excited that she met with a celebrity. So she's this now. She's like buzzing before, like never before, because she met with like the host, one of the hosts. She forgot that her son is co-hosting as well, and she met with the host of an international podcast. because we're on Spotify as well. So wherever you are listening, we are really grateful. And I can tell you that, like, once you have your parents, where you can sit and have those deep conversation about stories,
Mm,
it brings you to another level of authenticity. Like when you can just sit and be your true self and listen from their perspective. For
yeah.
me, it was a bliss moment. So I'm really grateful for you as well for, like, to offer that opportunity to my parents and to me as well, because for our family, that's valuable, and I'm sure we will never, never, ever forget that. So
Well, it's such a pleasure, talk this. I love talking to lots of different people, and they've got an immense amount of knowledge based on their life experiences. And yes, they're your parents, but at the same time, they're two people who have an amazing love story, and they've gone through all the trials and tribulations that come in endeavoring to be in a long-term relationship, for over 40 years. It's a long time to be
yeah,
with another human, and I endeavored to do that, but I kind of got to almost the halfway mark, and it wasn't sustainable. But they've made it sustainable, and they look like they got together yesterday. They just have this really, genuine love and care for one another, and are extremely supportive of one another's endeavors. And, particularly for your mum, when English isn't her, first language. So, I take my hat off to her, because it would be like me trying to do the podcast in French. I'm still really with two sets of training wheels on when it comes to learning French. But she was authentically herself, and she, as much as she thinks she met a celebrity, she just met me. But the level of pride and appreciation, and the fact that, like you said, you could sit as three adults, and it wasn't necessarily the parent-child relationship. The dynamic is different,
yeah,
right? Once everybody has done some level of work in order to understand the lessons that have been doled out in their life, and why things have happened the way that they have, and really looking at the way they wish to move forward. It's not, I don't think it's very often that you get in a situation where people know their parents as people.
yeah, yeah,
We all know our parents from our life experiences, and going, oh, well, dad was the hard ass and mum was the soft touch, or, like, mum was the hard one, and, I'd run to dad anytime I needed $50, or, do you know what I mean? Like, there are those dynamics, and unless you endeavor to come to understand them as individuals, and going, what's happened in your life, and also having parents that are prepared to have those conversations, in looking at their life and looking at, because most people just think that shit happens and they have to just try and move through it. It's not until you sort of step back and have a look and go, pattern, 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 where the same cycle keeps going, like going, these are really big red flags, people, and you're not paying attention to them, and you're not getting the lesson out of it that you need to get out of it. It's challenging to be authentic in a relationship when parents, friends, partners, whoever, aren't prepared to do the same level of work that you have, or at least endeavor to try. I think is the biggest point, is that, someone goes, Yeah, well, that kind of keeps happening all the time in some way, shape, or form. I wonder why. It's not very often that you get people that are prepared to examine below surface level. And as I explained to someone the other day, I don't do ostrich anymore. I don't lift up the carpet and shovel the pain and the hurt and the frustration and all the rest of it and all the dead bodies and lay the carpet back over the top and stamp my feet over the top and pretend that there isn't lumps and bumps and ugliness underneath, right? Like I've looked, and as most people go, no, once you've looked, you've still got to do the full circle, and you will have to look again at a deeper level and then a deeper level again. And it keeps coming around, and it tests to see how much work you have done, and are you really prepared to stand in the values and the beliefs and the ethics that you hold dear? Or do you immediately have your buttons pressed and you're jumping back into that inner 5-year-old and stamping your feet and going, I'm not getting what I need from this relationship, so I'm going to throw a tantrum every time something's not going my way? Or can we just move on? Can we just, like pretend that it's not there and just move on? How would you suggest, putting on your physician's hat, so to speak, how would you suggest that people move through a relationship like that, where someone doesn't want to deal with a challenge or a problem that you see as a challenge and a problem, and you want to open the cupboard doors or lift up the carpet and examine all the mess, and they don't want to? Are you best to walk away from that relationship? Should you dig in and try and work through it, or do you have to just meet them where they're at, knowing that it's never going to be the way that you want it to be?
Yeah, that's a really deep question, I feel. And I just wanted to point out something, because we are talking about inner work, and some people may not be familiar with that term.
True, sorry.
And it's like, for me, it's like, it's not going to going to sit in a cave and meditate. Inner work is not about that. Inner work is about facing your demons or your shit, and you're sitting with the mirror, like fully naked, like standing in front of the mirror and fully naked and just be your true self. And for me, that's doing the inner work and facing all the unhealed parts, all the parts that you don't want to see. And coming back to your question, because I've been like 13 years, I think, in the field of psychology and counseling now. And with coaching added to that, I feel one thing I realize is people won't change until they want to. And especially in relationship, because I did couple therapy as well. And I feel that I always come back to that question, like, what is your relationship with yourself? What is the other person teaching you about you? What is the unhealed part that's getting you triggered, that you're like, I want them to change? So for me, it's like, sit in front of the mirror and just ask, what is this person teaching me first? And maybe first step, what is triggering me? And then second is like, okay, what can I learn from that trigger? What is it teaching about me? And what is the unhealed part that I need to work on? And I feel like once you work on yourself and you take that time coming back to your light, coming back to you, showing up in your true self, the authenticity, the other person, look, the dynamic in the relationship will change, it will shift, but without you having the expectation that the other person will change. Because if you're doing the work with the expectation that this will change the other person, then you're doing it wrong.
You're going to be sadly disappointed, right?
Yes. Because if you're expecting for them to understand, to finally get you, to finally support you, well, you are in for a long ride.
Oh.
Because now you're hoping for another person to change, just like maybe they are hoping for you to change to understand them.
Yeah, but it kind of sucks, right? Because you're looking for this love and support from this person in a different way than obviously they have the capacity to be able to do. But it's just like, you're not hearing me, yet I'm the person that's got to do the work.
Yes.
Like, that just sucks, right? It just, on many levels, it sucks that I've got to be the bigger person and I've got to, tune in and do more work. Like, Deva, haven't I done enough?
No.
No. None.
Shadow work is never feeling enough. Like someone put it, like it feels like, oh yeah, I've done that. Like I've been there, and like we both get these. Oh yeah, it's like you're asking the universe, like, are you serious? Like, are you being serious? Like, I've done the work. Like, what do you want? Where do you want me to go? Clearly,
it's a WTF moment, right?
Clearly, I didn't go deep enough. But for me, it's like you have been digging before, right? You have been taking out a layer, and it feel like that onion, like you peel off, and then you're like, oh no, not again. I don't want to go there again. But the universe is like, well, you sign up for that. Like if I'm looking at it from a spiritual perspective, we all sign up for that. We all sign up for the people we met, we are learning from, they are teaching us for a lesson. But from the human perspective, is like, I didn't sign up for that. What are you talking about? Like, what contract did I even sign up for? Why did I sign up for that spiritual contract? And your human will go there because that's I feel it come down. You remember you were talking, and I always remember that analogy from you. Is like when you go to a meeting, see how many 10 or 12-year-old come out, right? So in a relationship as well, when it's not going the way that you want, maybe it's your 5-year-old, maybe it's your 6-year-old that come out. That's the chat
yeah, she has recently come out to play, and not in a good way.
Yeah, and I feel that's where you need to reparent yourself, and that's what. And even if you're tired of parenting at times, I'm not saying you don't like being involved, but it's like you feel that, oh, I done enough. Like I had enough of that. I want to focus on me, but it's about focusing on you, even. And it's like
it's the reparenting, right? It's reparenting yourself and going, if I was in that situation and I was the parent in that given space or whatever the relationship is, going, what love, what support, what help, what nurturing, what sort of environment would I have needed to create in order for them to feel equally as important as anybody else, that was in the immediate social circle. It's not fun being the person in the relationship or the kid in the group or whatever who feels like the odd man out.
Yeah.
Almost like you're adopted. Do you know what? Because sometimes that's how it feels, right? Like you're the adopted one, or you're the French one in a whole group that speaks Spanish. Like, it's just, we are definitely not communicating on the same level, and your choices to ignore things is not my way of dealing with. And then, you know, there's more hard conversations to be had in going, well, that might be your way of dealing with stuff, but it's not my way of dealing with stuff. How do you come to a mutual understanding where maybe you don't have a lot of contact, or you choose not to have contact with a certain person or persons for a period of time while you do, you know, can you do your inner work and still have a relationship with those types of people?
Definitely, I feel that you can, but it will a different dynamic because when you were sharing this, I felt like because there's a book that I'm reading that I finished reading this morning. It's by Joseph Murphy, called The Cosmic Energizer. So it's a good like I feel that book is a good if you want to get evidence from other people's stories about how you work through the divine. You know, like he talk about
Mm,
and he does use a bit of biblical verses as well, but it's totally up to you if you want to relate to that or not.
yeah.
For me, it's like the divine speaking, so I don't mind it. And there was one story about a woman, like she got so sick, you know, like physically sick, uh, because she was so angry with her husband who cheated on her, and she got like it developed into an ulcer, and then she was like really sick, and then she went to see Joseph Murphy, and Joseph Murphy said, did you forgive him? Like he and she said, yeah, of course I did, because it's my husband, you know, I have to. And
Oh, there's the word.
then and then he went like, did you really? I'm just rephrasing and paraphrasing,
Mm,
okay?
mm,
Because that's how I would have said, did you? and and she went like, no, like actually no. So what she did was she had a specific prayer that they work on with, and then she
mhm.
said every time the thought came in whenever she saw her husband, she just said like, I release you, you know, God be with you. And that's how he put it. It's like I already said what I had to say. And for me, is like one technique could be like you write a letter that you will never send to the person, and you say
Mm.
every single thing, or you can visualize the person sitting in front of you. If you want to punch them, you can, not physically, like in the visual, but just to let it out. Because some people have holds so much to anger that you see that in that woman develop into cancer. Like that's
Yeah, yeah, it is
that amount
crazy.
of anger. And once you've done that, you wrote the letter or you wrote an email that you will never send, but it's
Mm,
enough, and then you just choose the last word like I have released you, and you choose what worked for you. Is it like let it go? I'm letting you go in peace. You know, like is it
or is
like
it the Hoponopo prayer? You know,
yeah,
do you kind of sit and recite that
yeah,
over and over and over again until you find it's you finding the peace, isn't it? You know, like in you going, this is never, it's never going to be what I need it to be. And
yeah,
you have to get to the point where you're okay with that.
yeah. Because from that book as well, what I understood, like every single story, he brought it back to that person. Whatever issue they had, you know, like so many people
Mm,
came to him and said, you know, I had an issue with my coworker, and he's like, have you forgive? Have you said a prayer? And it's all coming back to you. That's why I keep saying like, what do you need to work on next? But for me, it's like if you use that Honopono prayer, you're connecting to the divine within everyone. So once you said,
mm,
I release you, you know, like I let you go in a gentle
yeah.
way, and it's like that divine will connect, because he talked about the quantum without really mentioning the, because this book was written in the 1900, I think, or something like that.
Ah, okay.
So it was written back in the days, so they didn't speak about the quantum realm as we know now, it's being spoken in the spiritual community now, but it's about that. Like you can collapse time and space. Like the amount of stories I read that they could change their life within hours or minutes is it's incredible.
Mm.
And because people could actually like tap into that divine and actually forgive people. Like there was
Yeah.
one guy, he came to a retreat where he was like so mad at his wife who left him for another person,
Yeah.
and his sons were not speaking to him, and he was like so angry at that, and he was like, like it was like fuck the world, like the world is so horrible, it's so bad out there. And
Mm.
like Dr. Joseph Murphy brought him back to his authentic self, which is the divine within you.
Yeah.
But I know the human is like taking time, so that's why he suggested that you do that prayer or whatever statement or whatever affirmation that you choose 3 to 4 times a day. And every time the thought come in, like the negative thought show up, you just say, I release you. I have released you to the divine. So the divine be with you. Sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
So the divine be with you. And it's like every single time, because if you have time to think negative, you have time to think the positive as well. You can flip
Mm.
the story.
Yeah. And I suppose it's the releasing of it all,
Mm.
and it's just the letting go, and you want to endeavor to know somebody on a different level, but perhaps they don't want to share themselves
Mm.
on that level, and the expectation that people can meet you where you're at is detrimental to
Yeah.
your mental health, right? In that most people can't. My partner and I were having that conversation the other day about emotional intelligence and
Mm.
how we like to look at things from a 360 and go, where does everybody fit, and how can we gain insight into the other person's perspective. But most people can't and won't. And I think I was listening to something the other day, it's philosophy 101. When you're having a disagreement, like your point of view is this, my point of view is this, you need to explain to the other person what their point of view is, to the point where they go, yes, that's right. And the same back. And you have to keep going backwards and forwards until you get to a point where you're clearly articulating each other's side of the argument. Then once you get to that point, is there actually any need for an argument? If you clearly understand my point of view and I clearly understand your point of view, like, I am not going to facilitate a meeting between you and a third person. I will not deal with it. I don't want to know about it. I have no interest in finding out about it. And this person is, well, I'd really like some assistance in that, but you're not going to help me. Is that clearly what I've heard? Yeah. Well, then there you go. Like it can't be any clearer, and it doesn't matter how many times you slam your head against a brick wall. They're not going to change. They're not going to change their mind. And for them, they are living authentically because they're standing in this is my boundary, right? I don't have the capacity to help to facilitate that meeting with that third person. So no, so therefore you have to accept the no and go, well, they're standing in their authenticity as much as you think it's bullshit. you can't, you're not going to sway it. So why are you continuously slamming your head into the wall?
Because you're hoping for change, because you hope for, like deep within, like your inner child is hoping like he or she will see me,
Yeah.
he she will support me, he or she will finally understand and finally get me or love me or show me some love. And that's the inner child hoping, and in a relationship as well, whether it's like a friendship or something, if you're trying to be right, that's where both of you are losing. You're already lost, like both of you. It's not just one side. If you feel that you're trying to win or something, yeah,
You've
it's just
lost already, right?
already.
Yeah.
So it's coming about the acceptance and saying, like, I accept your perspective. However, I also appreciate that you will accept my perspective. I don't need to agree with you on that perspective.
Mm.
I don't need to agree with, like, because everyone is wearing a pair of glasses and everyone has different perspective on the world. So it's like saying,
Yeah.
like, I accept who you are, but it's really hard at that moment.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Like, I can't do that at the moment. So I'm going to take some time for me and I'm going to have some space for me and
Yeah.
just say, like, I'm going to focus on me, like we were talking about, like, and
Yeah. It is a tricky space because we all want relationships to be easy and free flowing. And don't get me wrong, there are moments in life where it is, and it's beautiful and it's fabulous, and then it's not. And you've gone, oh shit, we're on the bottom side of the roller coaster. We are getting turned upside down. And you just, from experience that it will get better. It's just dependent on your perspective as to whether you like the upside down and the inside out and your guts up in your throat, or whether you like the high of being able, to see off the top of the roller coaster and see the world around you. It's dependent. Like you want me to jump from 60 feet in the air, that's not exciting for me. But there's a level of friendship where I would just go, yeah, maybe okay, I could do that, to gain your perspective, right? So it's the whole thing about being able, I think, to step into someone else's shoes and gain a different, or be willing to gain a different perspective into understanding what their authenticity means versus your authentic, what they think is their authentic self is what they think it is, right? And
and
same for you.
yeah, and also it's a good reminder, like, and you were talking about the bungee jump. We always talk about that, but I feel like, once you're jumping, you will have the best ever shout at "fuck you," and it will be like valet. I know where I'm taking you, so I know it's another timeline. It's already happened, so I know it's happening. It's already happened. And you're like, and we have the best video. You are doing
Yeah.
the promo for them, and it's the Divine Mess promo as well. You never know. I'm just saying.
Oh, look, like it.
And you will
It'd be,
show up
it'd
in
be a
your
big, great cover for the YouTube channel, wouldn't it? Here you go, Dava.
like, you're showing up in your authentic self when you're jumping is like, no, because you're feeling like it's the fear, like, and
Oh
I feel
God,
that
1000%.
when you're saying authentic, people believe that it always have to be positive, like, and I think, like, it's a good reminder right now is like, it's showing the parts that you maybe don't like about yourself or you have not healed. This
Mm-hmm.
is being authentic as well. And
Mm-hmm.
you communicate that in relationship, friendship, wherever it is, like, you're telling yourself as well, this is a reminder, oh, this is what I need to work on. Oh, I thought I already uncovered that, but clearly it's not deep enough. Clearly I didn't.
Clearly,
uh
I got the soggy fish in the face and said, "No, sorry, sister, you still got more to do."
yeah, clearly the jump was not high enough. So yeah, we need to go higher, right? That's what the universe is saying, like.
Jesus Christ.
Don't worry, I will keep sending you the videos so that you get into the mindset.
I know, I
No,
know.
but that's
I'd,
me.
I'd rather I'd rather go fast in a V8 supercar. Thanks very much for letting me know.
But that's a joke between us, and I feel that it's a good reminder because each time we bring that up, it's like a good reminder. There's so many lessons in that for me. You know, like even you saying like honestly, you know, like I feel scared doing, and I feel that take it, even how weird it sounds, it takes a lot of courage to say that. You know, like being honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because people like they will just go there and say, because most most of them, except the crazy ones, they will say, well, I came because of you, so you told me, you brought me into that. And I saw a lot of
I'm going to
couple,
get more grey hair, I reckon, jumping off that day.
but I remember the first time I went, I know we maybe are going off track, but that's a good story. I feel the first time I went for bungee jump here in New Zealand, uh there was a couple, and they came the first, they told me the story because they came the day before. They didn't go, they couldn't go, both of them, because you can do a tandem, so you can
Ah.
do two person,
Mm-hmm.
or you can do just a solo. So what they did, they stayed the whole day and watch it. They didn't do it. They came, so they had to, so the people over there working over there, they were like kind enough and say, okay, we're going to postpone it for tomorrow, but you have to show up. And they did show up, and they didn't do it. They stayed the whole freaking day again watching people, and they were, but that's how our mind feel, you know, like, and they didn't do it even the day I went. So it was third day for them. They came back and say, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then they didn't do it. But that's sometimes how we build up stories. My
Mm.
like that's how we build up stories. And when we see others doing it and we are unable to do it, it reinforces that story, maybe that, oh, I can't do that. They are doing it, but I can't do that, you know? And
It's
sometimes when,
scary, right? It's too
yeah,
scary. I don't want to look. I don't want to jump. I'm not ready.
and when people see you grow, when people see you change, they get scared as well. They are like, oh, she's changing. That's a different
Mm.
perspective. That's a different energy. I don't know that perspective. So the ego goes, I don't know that. So how do I deal with that?
Yeah.
So what I do best is I go back to my old self, how I was always. But for you, when you're growing, when you're changing, when you're shifting energy, you will see a different perspective. You will have a different light on that relationship or friendship. And then you will be like, oh, that's how I was before. But now I have
Mm.
evolved. But they have not done. But that's okay. But that's teaching you compassion and say, you know, that's okay. You're there maybe on another part of the journey,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that we can continue on this journey. It doesn't mean, it means our relationship is going to change. And I feel one of the best that I heard about relationship changing was probably Brian. On one interview, he said like, they asked him like, what would be our relationship, like I'm your cousin or brother, you know, like what would be our relationship when you're so obsessed with victory, with changing yourself, with constantly improving. And he said, it will suffer. You won't like it. You will yell
Mm.
at me. You will, you know, like swear at me, but I don't care because I'm constantly working on my craft. And that's how he put it. He was
Yeah.
so obsessed that he didn't have, for him, it was only his family, like his wife and his kids that matter
Yeah.
at this point, and his energy, like he
Yeah.
becomes so obsessed because people talk about his work ethic and he's crazy as like the stories I heard about him working out
3
and
a.m. in the morning when everybody else was out partying and doing all
yeah,
the rest of it. Yeah.
because even the US dream team, like they said like they challenged each other. They landed I think at 2 a.m. and they said like, okay, we are going to train at 5. Kobe was already did one session before them. He had
Mm.
an ice pack on his leg, on his knee, and they were like, what are you kidding me? Like we said like we're coming at 5, and then everyone changed. See, that's the effect of him because he became his authentic self.
Yeah.
Everyone changed around him.
Yeah. It creates a vibration or an energy shift. And that's the most important thing. Sometimes it's slow to catch on, but it does eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's how you can create shift in the world, by shifting yourself within you.
Mm-hmm. And I feel at that point, it's a good point to say, we love you and we are so grateful for you coming and sharing your time with us today, and extremely grateful for my friend to catch up with me on a Tuesday. Well, it normally is a Tuesday morning, but today it's Thursday. And we look forward to the episode next week where we're speaking to the delightful Sharon Brown, who is a feng shui expert, and will be talking to us about Chinese astrology and getting order in your home, which is very, very exciting. So until then, have an amazing rest of your week, and we look forward to chatting with you soon.
Thank you. And it's angel number. We are finishing at 1:23 New Zealand time.
Woohoo!
Everything is in order. So thank you,
Always.
everyone. Take good care. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate the conversation. And thank you, everyone, listening. And keep showing up in your authentic self.
True that. Okay, take care. Bye for now.